right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. Hope everybody's having a great trading session. And it looks like only a few of you were along the Aussie New Zealand. I feel lonely. No, I'm a little bummed out. I thought more of you were along the Aussie New Zealand. I saw some how should I say, some very let's see, how should I say this? Some very high end and let me see if hold on, let me check one thing. Let me double check something. I saw some very high end analysts from a big brokerage firm that were actually short the Aussie New Zealand last week. So I was expecting that. I was expecting, some people trying to get short ahead of 113, and then when we blew through those stops, that's when I had originally planned on getting out. I think I had explained to you guys that thought process of the Aussie New Zealand, but I thought more of you were involved. So hey, that's all right. It's hard to hold a trade for that long. I mean, it really is. Amanda says she's been in since 104. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. I just, me myself, that's a long time. I think, I usually max out around 2 months or so on a trade. The Aussie New Zealand it didn't have any, I think if it had any kind of carry interest, it was very minimal. So sometimes I end up holding some of these like pound New Zealand or pound Aussie, and those hurt. If you hold them for like months at a time, then it ends up hurting pretty bad. You have to make 1,000 pips, and you might lose 200 of them just in carry interest. But anyway, that wasn't necessarily the case. Okay. Well, anyway, let's look at the euro dollar, and let's start. I guess I got to just kind of delete everything because, yeah, I mean, yesterday's price action, this is crazy. This move yesterday, I mean, obviously I got caught on the wrong side. I shorted it here. Got stopped out somewhere up here, and it was a small position, but it still hurt because I gave it a really wide stop, and it just ran me over. Because, I think that reaction of the euro caught a lot of people off guard yesterday. I know I wasn't the only one. Some of you happen to be on the long side, and congratulations. It was very irritating to me yesterday because it was like, I sat there and waited. I thought I took all the right steps. Not going to trade the open, Sunday. I'm going to let the market shake out a little bit and wait for Asia and Europe to react. We rallied. We were basically trying to close the gap. And the sell zone, this in between these red lines, this seemed like a great logical place for it to stop, and it did, to be on the short side. And I'm like, okay, it might extend a little further to 1165, and then I just nestle my stops right above 112, and then boom. I did not expect it to just fly like that. Anyway, it caught me off guard, and small position or not, it was still very, very shocking to me, the price action. Now the question is what to do with it now. I'm not too not too sure what to do with the euro at this point. I'm more inclined to trade other currencies rather than the euro dollar, not because of taking a loss in the euro yesterday. Is if you just look at the price action, it's very choppy, and I mean, how do you make heads or tails of this from a trending directionality standpoint? I mean, I know we've already, we've been marking it as being a range environment for the last, for the last several weeks. I already understand that. But what is really interesting here is, what point is it a good short and what point is it a good long? And I don't have a concrete answer. And if I don't have a concrete answer at this point, I doubt I'm going to trade it. And so the euro to me doesn't look too tradable. That doesn't mean like the euro yen isn't, or maybe the euro Aussie or the euro pound or something else. But the euro dollar, I really just don't know what to make of it. So um, let's go ahead and delete everything here. Let's start with that. Okay. All right, and try to give it a fresh look. So here's the daily chart of the euro dollar, and um, the euro dollar. Okay, you'll notice this resistance here at 114.50. That's obviously big, and I'll be the first one to admit if we break that, it's going to be a big squeeze. I'd venture to guess. Okay. Um, okay. Support. This is the real key support I was looking for to hold, and it obviously did. Okay, but it kind of doesn't make this trend line relevant because we gapped below and then we obviously rallied right back above it. So um, this obviously in retrospect is very important because this was a 50% retracement. You can see the 50% retracement of low to high. Stopped at the 618, stopped at 50%. So my assumption is even from here, okay, if you think about this, we'll eventually probably test this trend line again, and it might even be, as we could do this, and what we're doing is we're nicking every one of these fib levels. You see, and that's what keeps us a nice trend line. Um, but I don't know. I don't know where the next move is, and unfortunately, it's really the euro is really more of a product of a rogue government and decisions that they're making, not decisions that it's fluid with the market environment. So you're talking about a government, Syriza, that's holding a referendum that's allowing that's trying to negotiate, that has its people voting on something that may not even be viable anymore, and news stories and headlines are coming left and right that are obviously jolting the euro dollar back and forth. It's a very fast moving environment that really is leaving us trendless in the euro. And so unless we get to an extreme again, and the perfect extreme was Sunday, and I didn't take advantage of it. Okay. But unless we get to an extreme again, I doubt I'm going to be trading the euro dollar, so to speak. Now you might say, well, there's so much opportunity in the euro, Blake. There's so there's so many opportunities, but there's also opportunities to take losses like I did yesterday. So just as much as there's an opportunity to be on the right side, there is an opportunity to be stuck on the wrong side of the trade as well. Okay, so like I said, you get me to an extreme, and we might look at some opportunities. But what I will note is we stopped yesterday at the 618. Okay, that was significant. Okay, we couldn't close above 112.50, right? So I suspect now any move back to 112.50 is going to offer some resistance, correct? Okay. Now support is going to be it's here. Let me go ahead and grab a horizontal line. So I really think the 618 is going to be a very key resistance, because now if you're stuck long, you got long maybe kind of late in this move yesterday, you're just going to be happy if it gets back to 112.50. I think you'll be like, all right, let me go ahead and take some profits here, or let me get out. Support now is being firmed at 111.30. So for today, this is probably the range. Unless there's something that really influences the euro up or down. There's some like Greece makes a payment. Greece says skip the memorandum, the referendum. We're bowing out of the eurozone unless there's something crazy like that that happens. The euro is probably confined now. It made an extreme on Sunday. It made an extreme yesterday. Okay, so it made an extreme on Sunday. It made an extreme yesterday. We're probably going to be bouncing around at least for today. Okay, because now you got people tired. You got them tired on both sides. You got the very extreme move to the downside, the very extreme move to the upside. So now you're gonna find buyers and sellers ahead of those levels. Okay. All right, let's go over to the cable. Now the pound has stayed confined to this range, which is really easy. I mean, that's a great thing about the cables. We know exactly where the breakout points are, don't we? It's wonderful. 156.60, 158, easy peasy. I mean, because now we know, I mean, we're stuck right in between, but 156.60, 158, and we're in range. Very easy. Okay. Let's go over to Swissy. So here's the Swissy. And let's delete this. Now you know why this is important. It's the 618 of high to low, 94 cents. That's like very, very important. I mean, we'll probably, we can say 94.10, okay, but really it's 94 cents is huge. Let me check this really quick. Low to high, 618. Okay, well, you can say the Swiss franc is a product of the 618 retracements. So 92.40 to 94, and we are kind of in the middle right now, right? 92.40, 94.10. That's critical, and we're range environment. Okay. Let's get rid of this. So let's go to the yen. All right. So, when Paulie was on a little earlier, he was like, 121.50 is really critical support intraday. I don't see it. Not that I don't respect Paulie's analysis, but the reason why I don't see it is I think that that's such a key level support that that if we break through 122 and we have a sustained break below 122, the dollar yen's in trouble. I'm adding if we go below 122. I'm short at 123.98 still. Excuse me really quick while I blow my nose. Stand by. Okay, I'm back. So if we break below 122, see 122 here? The high is 122.02. The low here is 122. We break below 122 on a sustained basis, I'm adding to my dollar yen if we get a daily close below there. I'm also going to be shorting the euro yen, pound yen, Aussie yen, New Zealand yen, Canadian yen. I'll even somehow finagle my way into shorting the Turkish lira yen, I'll just buy yen, basically. Are we clear? Do you guys get that trade? Do you understand? I mean, this is how important this 122 level is to me, and the market proved it today. Today, look, we got to 122 and bounced like a bat out of hell. I'm staying short the dollar yen because I think ultimately we're breaking lower because I actually think the equity markets are still in a correction mode. So I'm not covering my dollar yen. I'm getting prepared to actually short more. I should be selling more somewhere around here, but I just don't know where key resistance is. Well, hopefully we'll find out. So resistance intraday might actually be here, but I don't know if I'm confident enough just start shorting more here. Let's call it 122.60. Oops. Hold on. 0.924. I typed in the wrong spot, of course. 0.9410. Range. Resistance 122.60. 122.00. I put 3 asterisks there. How often do you see me put 3 asterisks down? Not very. That's why it's so vitally important. Okay, so vitally important. Okay, let's go over to the Canadian. Now we have Canadian GDP today. Let me check something really fast before we continue on. Canadian GDP. We're expected to come in flat. All right. I want to look at, you know what I really need to look at? I need to go do a little bit more research. We're expecting to come in 0.1%. So on Canadian GDP, and maybe that's the reason why we're seeing Canadian strength at the moment. Oh my God, this New Zealand Canadian's got to be getting demolished right now. I can't trade this currency. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're closing in on some pretty critical support here in the Kiwi. All right, anyway, let's go back to the US dollar Canadian. So the US dollar Canadian, going back to yesterday's 124 resistance, okay, you can see 124 was resistance yesterday. We popped above it, but then we got capped at 124 and a quarter, which that suggests to me that this, see this downtrend line here? This one. Let me get rid of this really quick. Delete that for a moment. I'll delete that one too. Okay, see this downtrend line, this blue downtrend line? That's the flag, right? It's wasn't even, I mean, it's accurate, but you can see how important it is now. Okay, you can see how really important this 124 and a quarter is. If we break through 124 and a quarter, I'm tempted to go long the dollar Canadian. That would have to be a weak Canadian number, like a real weak number. Like the market's expecting 0.1 for GDP. We'd have to come in at like negative 0.1, maybe even worse than that. I might actually get long the dollar Canadian. So because this flag pattern, guys, is very, to me, it's it's just like the Aussie New Zealand dollar that I just got finished getting out of. Very similar move. And, you know, I don't think many people, especially banks, would be forecasting the US dollar Canadian to 141 over the course of the next 4 to 6 months. But we break out and we break higher, that's what I'm going to be targeting. So resistance 1.2425, very important resistance. We're in a range, but we could be changing that as early as today. Could be as early as today. Am I getting long the dollar Canadian right now? No, I'm not. All right. Support, low to high. 38% is holding. 50% retracement comes in at Probably this is going to be a decent support for today, right through here. 123.60. Okay. All right, when I get back, we will do the Kiwi, Aussie, dollar index, peso, Swedish krona, Norwegian krona, whatever else we can conjure up. So I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere, folks. Thanks for everybody for being here. Be right back. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So let's go take a look at, well, we got to finish up with the Aussie and the Kiwi. Let's start with the Kiwi dollar, since it's right next to the Canadian here. So here's the Kiwi. Let's figure out, we've obviously hit new multi-year lows overnight. Let's go from this low to the high, 127% extension. If we make one step, oh, hold on, let me do it from a couple different points. We just hit 161% extension of this move, which is looks like the low on the 23rd to the high on the 24th. 161% extension came in at 67.44. There is still more support, being at 67.25. But 67, let's just write down the lows, or let's just say 67.45 is support right now. I'm going to write down two levels actually. 67.25, okay, 0.6725, 0.6745, okay. Two levels of support right here. Now, resistance will be any rally back up towards 68, whatever that is, 68.25. And if we get a bounce back to 68.10, I might be a seller up there if we can get it. Okay. We are in a very bearish trend. But even though we're in a bearish trend, it looks like, we're getting to probably some pretty oversold areas. You can see how relative strength is diverging pretty good. So I'd be looking to sell into any bounce here. Okay. Let's go over to the Aussie. Wow, we're right at trendline resistance here. This whole sell zone from yesterday really came into play, but let me delete it now. 77 cents, big resistance. Because if we can take that out, we'll get a bit of a bounce here. Now support, look at all these wicks. This really key support here at 76.60. Look at all those wicks right there. It's a tight range, guys. Okay, tight range. All right, let's take a look at the dollar index. Okay. So the dollar found support here yesterday at the low, which is 94.70, which wasn't too far off this day's low, which was 94.93. So 94.70 going to be support, and then obviously resistance is this downtrend line that held us on any rally. So that's at 96. Now it's going to be 96, probably 10, maybe 96 and a quarter. 96.25, and resistance, or excuse me, support is at 94.70. Okay, we're obviously still range bound. Let's take a look at the peso really quick. So the peso has been holding on to its gains. I mean, that's the one thing that I have to, recognize here. And I know we're pulling back right now, probably at an 88% retracement, which I don't typically look at, but um, we're we're really holding on to our gains, and that's something that I think if you're trading the peso, just keep an eye on it. If the dollar starts to go, starts to rally, let's just say the data is really good today and it starts to stage a rally, just watch it. I think this thing could break in a new multi-year highs today. It's possible. Let's see, here's the Norwegian krona. It's not really doing a whole lot either. Here's the Swedish krona. It's a little weaker. There's not a whole lot going on in these Nordic currencies either at the moment. Nothing to write home about. Nothing to actually. Hold on. Hold on. Let me stop you right here. Give me a second with this one. Okay. We've already known that. I just wanted to make sure that we had that drawn out. So here's your daily chart, right? Looks like that. Okay, now let's go to the 4-hour chart. See this? This is what's capping the Swedish krona right now. As long as the euro dollar maintains a bid, then this Swedish krona is at risk of moving lower. Because this right here, that looks like a flag, you see? So I think the risk is that that it does push lower. So just keep an eye on it. Don't let. I think this thing, if the euro starts to bounce back towards 112 and change, we could see the Swedish krona come under some pressure. But it's not. You look at the euro and the euro so choppy. I don't know if this is going to be a whole lot different. But anyway. Yeah, I think we just keep a real close eye on it. All right, let's go see really fast before I finish up. I'm going to go over to the E-mini futures. Then I'm going to take any questions that you have because really on some critical support we have to pay close attention to. Um, like everybody's noting that we are like the 200-day moving average is right at the lows. So we have to write down the lows today, because if they get the lows from yesterday, rather, if they get taken out, this market may be in trouble. Okay, see this right through here. I'm just going to delete everything. This is the September contracts. Okay, let's do this. See how important yesterday's lows were? Obviously, we got a double top here, roughly. So if you start looking at a correction, let's say we break. $19.73. That's basically 100 S&P points. It's another 5% correction from here. I have to keep a real close eye on today's lows. Remember, there's a 200-day moving average comes in right there too. Yesterday's lows 2047. ES SPX support 2047. Very important. Resistance. Obviously 2069, huh? Previous support 618. So 2069. Not great resistance. It is resistance though. 69. Okay. We are in a range for now. Okay, there you go. There is your bias chart. Now let's see if I can take some questions. And I got to go to the way back